2D echo, what is usually we do basically the M mode echocardiography. So we have to go serially. First is the 2D echocardiography, then the M mode echocardiography, which will assess the dynamic function, and third will be the velocities of the different blood flow in the different chambers. So by that is by the Doppler mode, and last will be the pattern of the blood flow by the color flow Doppler. So this is the 4 basic steps. So now we are going to the M mode. So when the M mode, we put the M mode on the screen, we press the M mode on the echo, basically the panel, we can see there are three types of M mode we can obtain, where depending on whether the ultrasound beam cuts perpendicular through the aortic root, through the left atrium, or it can cut directly through the mitral valve, through the left ventricle, or only through the left ventricle. So as per that, we can either get 3 views. One is through the aortic valve. We can see this is the opening of the aortic valve, this is the left atrium, this is the right ventricle, or this is only the mitral valve, the anterior mitral leaflet and the posterior mitral leaflet and the left ventricular cavity, and this is the right ventricle. Similarly, this is only shows the right ventricle and the left ventricle. So we'll go in the details. So this is basically the M mode echocardiography through the mitral valve, where the ultrasound beam cuts perpendicular to the moving mitral valve and the mitral annulus, the tip of the mitral valve, and we can see the 2 types of waves here. So one is called the anterior mitral leaflets, and the another wave is being generated from the posterior mitral leaflet. So we can go in detail in the next slides, and just to summarize, this is the right ventricular free valve, this is the RVOT, interventricular septum, this is the left ventricle, this is the left ventricular posterior wall, and this glistening type is the pericardium. Okay, so this is the anterior mitral leaflet and this is the posterior mitral leaflet, anterior mitral leaflet and posterior mitral leaflet. So we can see how the anterior mitral leaflet and the posterior mitral leaflets, they actually functions in the different part of this diastole and the different part of the systole. So to begin with, let's see. So this is the beginning of the diastole. So as the diastole begins, there will be a filling of the ventricle. So there will be a pressure difference across the left atrium and the left ventricle, and as the pressure reaches the peak, there will be rapid filling of the ventricles, and actually here both the valve leaflets are wide open. So this is the D and this is called the E. So E is the point where the anterior mitral leaflet actually touches the interventricular septum. Okay, and here actually both the valves are wide open. As the pressure difference declines, now gradually both the leaflets, they will again come closer to each other, and at a point which is called the F, both the valve leaflets are opposed to each other and they both are closed. So we can get a point which is called F, and again after the beginning of the arterial systole, there will be a slight movement of the valves. Okay, so you can find a small deflection which is called the point A, okay, which is usually smaller than the E, and after this arterial systole, again both the valves, they will come to their normal position. So this is how the functionality of the mitral valves is actually the functions in this manner during the systole and the diastole. So if you see, this is the diastolic phase, or this is one cardiac cycle. Okay, so we can see the EF slope, and second is called the ASE slope. Okay, so most of the times this EF slope is very important, because from here, if there is a mitral stenosis, if there is a reduction in the EF slope, usually we call it there is a mitral stenosis. So the mitral valve area can easily be calculated from the EF slope by the cardiologist. That is why the EF slope is very important. Okay, and the same thing if you see here, so this is called basically the E wave, and this is called the A wave of the mitral valve in the M mode echocardiography. Okay, so here you can see the M mode echocardiograph, or the ultrasound probe is being passing through the tip of the mitral valve, and we can clearly see the 2 waves. One is called the E waves and the A wave. Normally the E wave is more than the height of the E wave is more than the A wave if the ventricular ejection fraction is very good, but if the ventricular ejection fraction, left ventricular ejection fraction is poor, sometimes the E wave height is reduced, and we can easily see a distance between the interventricular septum and the tip of the E wave. So this is called the E point septal separations. Okay, so E point septal separation is nothing but it is the distance at the end of the diastole between the interventricular septum and the tip of the E wave. So if EPSS is very small, it is suggestive of very good LV function. Okay, so this is the anterior mitral leaflet, we can see. Okay, right ventricle, septum, the left ventricle, and the different tracing of the valve leaflets. So similarly, we can see the EPSS, which is a very good important measure of left ventricular ejection fraction. Okay, similarly we see here the DE point. So the DE point measures the maximum excursion of the mitral valve following the diastolic opening. Normally the DE line should be around 17 to 30 millimeter. If the DE line is less than 17 to 30 millimeter, that's suggestive of again depressed ejection fraction. So these are the two important parameters, one is EPSS and second is the DE. Okay, so through which we can know whether the ejection fraction is good. So what are the other methods to know the ejection fraction? Is basically the end diastolic diameter of the left ventricle in the M mode or the end systolic diameter of the left ventricle in the M mode. So you can see in the diastole by the golden rule, I have discussed the golden rule in my first videos, and here by the law of the golden rule we can see it should be around 5 to 6 millimeter or 5 to 6 centimeter, and the end systolic diameter should be around 3 to 4 centimeters. So if there is a reduction in the end diastolic diameter or the end systolic diameter, we can easily say that the ejection fraction is reduced. So this is another method of estimating the ejection fraction. Okay, so now after that the most important part is called the Doppler echocardiography. So after the M mode, what we usually do is the Doppler echocardiography, and here we have to place the pulse wave Doppler or the color wave Doppler. So most important is the pulse wave Doppler. The pulse wave Doppler, the important point is it measures the low flow velocities across the mitral valve. Okay, so when we place the pulse wave Doppler, so most important point, we can see the deflection of the wave away from the baseline. So usually in the Doppler mode, a baseline is defined. Usually most of the echo machines, the baseline is set. We need not to adjust the baseline, but sometimes we may have to adjust the baseline also. So if this baseline is set, so any flow which is away from this transducer is being reflected in the downward direction. So this is the downward deflections. Okay, so this is called the blood flow away from this transducer, and by measuring the area of this triangle, we can come to know that how much blood is flowing through that particular mitral valve at a particular second. So this is called basically the area denotes the velocity of the blood flow per second through that particular valve. Okay, so this is called very important to know the area. So if the mitral valve area is reduced, obviously the velocity is going to increase through the mitral valve, the blood flow velocity is going to increase, and in that case we can see the height of this wave is downward direction, it is more. Okay, so that means the blood is flowing through the very high velocities in a stenosed mitral valve. Okay, so these are the two important information we can get from that. And so similarly, if we put the Doppler mode, so the aortic valve, we can get some positive reflections in the parasternal long axis view, because in the parasternal long axis view the blood flow through the aortic valve is towards the transducer. So if you similarly calculate the area, we can have an idea about the aortic VTI. Aortic VTI is nothing but it is an important surrogate marker of this left ventricular stroke volume. Okay, so the better idea to obtain the aortic VTI is through the 4-chamber view that we are going to discuss in the subsequent videos, but we can have some fair ideas regarding the aortic VTI in this view also. So the tip of this triangle denotes the peak velocities. Okay, the tip of the triangle denotes the peak velocities. So if the aortic valve is, if there is any stenosis, so obviously the velocity will be more and the peak will go higher and higher from the baseline. So this is called the VTI. You can see the VTI is 33.2 centimeters and the Vmax is 99.1 centimeter per second. So these are all calculations we can easily get through the echo screen once we are used to it. So this is called, and the last view for us is basically the color flow mode. So color flow mode. So after the 2D mode, the M mode, the D mode, now the color flow mode. And in the color flow mode, we can come to know whether the blood flow is regular or there is a turbulence in the flow. So when the flow is regular if the valve area is normal in size. So here we can see this is a regular flow. If we put the color flow mode here, we can clearly see that the flow is away from in the mitral valve, the flow is away from the transducer, and it is denoted by the red pattern of the blood flow in the color flow mode. Similarly, if we put the same thing is being depicted in the aortic valve also, and we can clearly see that there is a green color of pattern of flow is here. That means the blood flow is towards the transducer, but both the flows are regular. There is no stenosis or there is no regurgitations, lesions here. We can have a eyeballing assessment. Now similarly in this, if we see here, actually the same thing, but here we can see the zigzag pattern or the mosaic pattern of the flow here. So this is called the turbulence in the blood flow. So that means there is some abnormality in the valve, either in the form of stenosis or there can be a component of mitral regurgitation. Whereas through the aortic valve we can clearly see that the blood flow the color is blue. That means there is no turbulence of flow here. So these are the few important information we can get from the left you can say the parasternal view, and in the subsequent videos we are going to discuss what are the abnormal structures or what are the abnormal things we can measure, and what are the different pathology we can going to find out on the left axis parasternal view. So to summary, the left axis parasternal view is one of the most important views, and here we can see, we can have an idea about the left ventricular ejection fraction, the left ventricular cavity size, the flow pattern across the mitral valve area, the EPSS, the E point septal separation, the EF slope, the DE point, and there is any abnormal pathology inside the left atrium, the size of the left atrium, the size of the aortic cusp, and the size of the root of the aorta. And so these are the few informations we can get from here. And if we can little bit more expertise, we can also see the plaques RV view, which is very important to know the pattern and the blood flow across the tricuspid valve also. So the most important point here is we usually don't see the apex in the left parasternal view, long axis view. Basically we don't see the ventricular apex, because we don't see the ventricular apex, because to see the apex, basically the apical views are the best. So to conclude this, in the subsequent videos we will be discussing regarding the different pathology which can be detected through the left parasternal view, long axis view. Thank you.